Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to a special edition of Hen and Chicks Studio Facebook Live. My name is Rhonda Pierce, and I'm spokesperson for Schmetz Needles North America, and I'm pleased to be here today. Let me see. Oh, great. We've got people starting to show up. So we'll let people gather, and I'll start in just a minute or two. Well, we've got Georgia, sunny Florida, Charleston, South Carolina. Oh my goodness, I've never been to Charleston, and it is on my hit list to visit. Minnesota. Yes, please go into the chat and say hello. Tell us where you're from. I know, oh, Pam is from snowy and cold southern Indiana. Well, I'm coming to you live from the Chicago area, and it's cold here too. We had snow 2 days ago, but I'm so disappointed we just haven't had the big snowstorm yet. I'm originally from the Midwest, and I'm used to blizzards and wind, and I really miss all of my snow. I do love the 4 seasons. Okay. Oh, Canada, yes. New Jersey, Texas, Iowa, of course, Iowa. As many of you know, the Hen and Chick Studio is in Conrad, Iowa. I've not been there yet, but I go to Iowa quite frequently, and I look forward to hopefully in the new year, next year, visiting the store. So it's exciting because Heidi, who is the owner of Hens and Chicks Studio, is celebrating 10 years of business. So give a big shout out to Heidi for 10 years of business. And wow, how business changes over the years. So who knew that so many things would be virtual? Well, I see it's 2 minutes past the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Rhonda, and I represent Schmetz Home Sewing Needles. And yes, my goal today is to help remove some mystery over needles. You know you must have a needle in your sewing machine, but I know in the real world, all those beautiful fabrics, the patterns, the books, the authors, they really grab your attention. So maybe you haven't spent enough time learning about your Schmetz needle, and that's okay. That's why I'm here today, to help elevate your respect for the needle and to help you feel more comfortable in your needle selection. So let's get started. Generally, I give 20 to 25 presentations throughout North America live, but of course I'm not doing that this year. And I always travel with the Schmetz Super Demo Needle. This needle here is 17 inches. And when I was traveling with it, my luggage was always inspected at the airports. So today's conversation about needles is broken up into 5 parts. I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual parts of the needle, so it'll help you understand and make a more informed decision as to what needle you should use. We'll talk about 5 needle types that are used for piecing and quilting. We'll talk about sewing with knits, and then I've got some special needles that you might not be familiar with, and then there's always that big question that everyone asks, and I will be answering that for you today. So let's get started. So here I have the Schmetz Super Demo Needle. It is anatomically correct. You can see all of the parts. So let's just walk through the parts real quick. So, and normally this needle here is actually on a little wooden stand, but I've taken the stand off so that you can see easier. So at the very top of your sewing machine needle is a beveled edge, and this is referred to as the butt. And you might think, oh, so what? What's a beveled edge mean to me? Well, it's beveled, so it's easier to insert the needle into your needle holder. a beveled edge for easier needle insertion. Our home sewing machine needles have a flat shank, 99% of all of our home sewing machines require a flat shank needle for perfect positioning into the needle holder. You have a little transitional area right here, which is referred to as the shoulder. And when you've been buying your new needles over the past couple years, you've probably noticed either 1 or 2 bands of color on the shoulder, and we'll be talking about that. You've got the length of the needle, which is referred to as the blade, and the size of the needle is determined by the diameter in this area here of your needle. Along the blade, you also have the groove. Have you noticed the groove before? And actually, if you take your regular sewing machine needle and run your finger along the front of the needle, you can actually feel this groove. And what's the purpose of the groove? The groove is going to cradle your thread so it's not flip-flopping back and forth. Your thread should move evenly and smoothly down the length of the needle to the eye. We have the point and the tip, and these change according to needle types. And have you noticed on the back side of your needle is this little indentation above the eye? This is referred to as the scarf. And the scarf has a very important function. When your needle passes through the fabric and needle throat, your bobbin hook has to come up and catch that top thread in order to create the stitch. So this little indentation, this little scarf, allows the bobbin hook to pass by and catch that top thread in order to create your stitch. And the shape of this little scarf does change according to different needle types. Then, of course, we've got the eye of the needle, the eye of the needle. So I've got this nice little diagram about the eye of the needle that I think you can probably see. So your everyday needle, the universal needle, the eye is about 40% the width of the blade. If you look at the embroidery needle eye, it's a little bit wider. And when you look at the metallic and top stitch eye, wow, you can see that not only is it wider, but it's also elongated. So what does a larger eye mean to you when you're sewing? A larger eye means there's less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. So if you're having problems with threads that are shredding or breaking, you either need to move up a needle size or you need to change to a different needle type with a larger eye. So, wow, maybe I just solved one of your problems right now. So if you're curious, I know that Heidi has the Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide, and if you buy needles from her site, she will be selling Schmetz needles, some nice little bundles. With each purchase, she's including the Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide, which is valued at $4.95. And this little popular guide has its own centerfold with needle anatomy. So you can see the parts of the needle. There's this nice little diagram with the scarf, but I think the most valuable part to the little Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide is all about the eyes of the needle. So you don't have to remember that the top stitch in metallic have that elongated eye, and the embroidery needle eye is also enlarged. So lots of good information in this little Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide. The other thing that's in the Schmetz Pocket Guide is the Schmetz color chart, the Schmetz color chart. And I want to make sure you know how to read the color chart. And you can see behind me, I've got an 8-foot banner of the Schmetz color chart. But let's walk through it real quick. So on your needles, you're going to see either 1 or 2 bands of color. I got another visual here that might be a little bit easier for you to see. Okay, so on the chart here, on this column right here, it's labeled needle type. Needle type. So there's a color for most needle types. So you can see all the different colors right here. Needle type is represented on your actual needle by this top color band. The top color band of your needle identifies the needle type. So this is yellow, and that's yellow for stretch. On the other side of your picture here, you've got a column called needle type. Needle type. So there's a color designated to all the different sizes that are available for our home sewing machines. So on this sample here, it's a little rose color. Well, you look over here, rose color is size 7511. So if you had a jersey size 80, well, jersey is orange, orange for jersey, and orange for size 8012. My favorite needle is a Microtext size 80. So the top band of color would be purple, and the lower band would be orange for size 80. Now, when you look at the list here, you'll see that universal is X'd out. Universal is X'd out. So universal needles will have only 1 band of color to identify the needle size. So universal needles have only 1 band of color to identify needle size. So this chart can be very helpful to identifying your needles. Again, the little chart is in your Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide. All right, now I also want to make sure that you know how to read the needle package. So let's just take a package of universal needles right here. So at the bottom of your package, you will always find the needle size. The needle size is at the bottom of your package. So this one here says 7010, 8012, and 9014. So this pack of needles has assorted sizes. Sizes 7010, 8012, and 9014. So the size you'll find at the bottom of your little, we call them chips, the little chip. Now above that, have you noticed these other numbers, 130/705H, and wondered, well, what the heck does that mean? What does 130/705 mean? That is your needle system. 130/705 is your needle system. 130/705 means that your needle has a flat shank. A flat shank for 99% of all of our home sewing machines. 130/705H, the H translates from a German word that means scarf. So needle system 130/705H is a flat shank needle with a scarf that is appropriate for 99% of all of our home sewing machines. Now, let me just tell you, it's important to keep that number in mind, 130/705H, 130/705, because now when you go into the stores, oftentimes you can find other needle systems, because sometimes the larger machine embroidery machines or sergers or long arm machines use different needle systems. A long arm machine might use a 206X13 or a 134R or 135X17. Listen to this. Here's a little trivia thing. There are over 7,000 different needle systems throughout the world among the different needle manufacturers. So we can be very, very happy that the needle manufacturers and the sewing machine manufacturers agree that 99% of all of our home sewing machines require needle system 130-705H, a flat shank needle with a scarf. Whew, I hope that removes some of the mystery about the numbers on your pack. Okay, above the needle system, you've got the needle type spelled out. So this is a universal needle. You've got the Schmetz name. And now with the color bands, you can actually see the color bands on these needles. Now this is universal. So there's only one band of color on each needle. So you can see that emerald green for size 70, the orange for size 80, and blue for size 90. So I've got another diagram here that I can just easily show you. Here. So here's your information. Needle size. This is a size 90/14. Above that, you see the numbers 130-705H, which is your needle system. That means the needle has a flat shank with the scarf. On your needles, on your needle pack, you'll also sometimes see an additional letter. So E for embroidery. Let's see, can I point it out? E for embroidery, Q for quilting, M for microtext, J for jeans, etc. So you'll see the name spelled out above that. You'll see the German word for needle, the Schmetz name, and again, when you look at the actual needle, you can see the color band. So this pack here are embroidery needles. The top band is red, and because it's a size 90, you'll see that the lower band is a blue. So I hope that helps you read your needle package. Lots of actual redundant information on the package. So let me see if there are any questions. I see lots of things in the chat room, and I just can't read it while I'm also talking. So yes, you can get the information in the Smet's ABC Pocket Guide, which you just go to hinandchickstudio.com, and they've got the needles, and each bundled pack of needles includes the Smet's ABC Pocket Guide. Oh, gosh, I hope I'm not talking too fast. We have a lot of information to cover about needles. Okay. Oh, Charlene says that she downloaded the Schmetz app. So yes, there is an app for that. You can actually go to the Google Play Store, or you can go to the iStore and just type in Schmetz, S-C-H-M-E-T-Z, and you can download this little guide, the very same guide, and it's got your needle anatomy and the eyes of the needle. So you can do that too, but this is such a cute little reference. You definitely want to get your hands on it. So, okay, let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about popular needle types that are used for piecing and for quilting. Because I used to travel so much, I did both formal and informal surveys, and I discovered there are 5 needle types popular for piecing and for quilting. So yes, the universal needle. Lots of people use the universal needle for piecing and for quilting, and lots of famous quilters use the universal needle. The universal has a slightly rounded point. Universal is just like the name suggests, it's for universal general purpose uses. But I always like to say with Schmetz you have options. So let's look at 4 more options for your piecing and for your quilting. First of all is the jeans needle. The jeans needle, also known as a denim needle. And you might be thinking, really? Jeans? The denim needle? Well, yes. If you like to piece and quilt flannels, if you like to make raggy quilts, this is the needle of choice, your denim or your jeans needle. What's special about the jeans needle is that it has a reinforced blade. A reinforced blade that can penetrate through your heavier fabrics with less stitch deflection. So the reinforced blade, there's less stitch deflection, and it can handle those heavier and thicker and layered fabrics. So that is your jeans needle. Another needle type used for piecing and quilting is the top stitch needle, the top stitch needle. This needle also has a slightly rounded point, And as we learned earlier, the top stitch needle has an elongated eye, So there's less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle, the top stitch needle. There is the quilting needle, and just as the name suggests, it's for piecing and for quilting. The quilting needle has a slightly rounded point, but especially what's important about the quilting needle is that it has a special taper to the point, a special taper that was specifically designed for piecing and for quilting. So this needle comes in 2 sizes. You would probably use the size 7511 for your actual piecing and the size 9014 for your actual quilting. And then finally, we have the Microtext needle, The generic name for Microtext is a sharp needle, What's special about the Microtext is that it has a very slim acute point, a very slim acute point. What does that mean? Wow, you get very clean, precise stitches. And because the point is very slim and acute, the Microtext needle is going to wear out quicker than any of your other needle types. So you're going to need to replace your Microtext needle more frequently than any other needle type. So when your books and magazines say use a sharp needle, they don't mean get out a needle and sharpen it. No, what they mean is use a Schmetz Microtext needle with a very slim acute point. So let me just do a quick review of the top 5 needle types popular for piecing and for quilting. We've got the universal needle. We've got the jeans needle, which has that reinforced blade. We have the top stitch needle with its elongated eye. We have the quilting needle for piecing and for quilting, which has the special tapered point. And finally, we have the Microtext needle with the very slim acute point. So 5 needle types that are popular for quilting and piecing. So find what works for you and try them all. Okay. All right, let me just see what comments we've got. I know, I'm talking fast. I'm trying to talk slow so that you can take notes. Okay. Okay, so Dawn is asking, she's working with batiks, and what fabric would you use? So for batiks, it's generally a very kind of tightly woven fabric with and heavily dyed. So Microtext is a popular needle type used for batiks. All right, I want to talk a little bit about sewing with knits, and I know there's somebody asking, hey, what needle do I use for sewing with knits? Well, of course, universal is a choice. Universal works with your knits and your wovens. But there are 2 needle types you must have in your stash when sewing with knits. And the first is the jersey needle, The The generic name for a jersey needle is a ballpoint needle. A jersey needle is a ballpoint needle. The other needle that you need in your stash when sewing with knits is a stretch needle. A stretch needle. So how do you know, if you're sewing with knits, how do you know which needle type to use? Well, if your fabric has lycra, spandex, or elastic, your needle of choice is the stretch needle. The stretch needle. The stretch needle has a narrow eye and a deeper scarf. A narrow eye and a deeper scarf. So if you're sewing with a knit that has lycra, spandex, or elastic, start with the stretch needle. If it's just a regular knit fabric, start with the jersey needle. The jersey needle. Now, the stretch needle and the jersey needle, they both have a medium ballpoint. But the difference in the narrow eye and the deeper scarf on the stretch will make a world of difference in how your needle reacts to your fabric and to your sewing. Sometimes stretch and jersey needles are interchangeable, but not always. So if you start with a stretch needle and you don't like the stitch quality, well then change to the jersey. And vice versa. If you start with the jersey needle and you don't like the way it works, then switch to the stretch needle. Both of these needles have a medium ballpoint, but again, the difference is in the eye and the formation of the scarf. So have the jersey and the Schmetz stretch needles on hand for sewing with knits. And I have to tell you, when I first started sewing, I mean, do you remember what double knits were like? But knits have really come along. They've really improved, and I love sewing with knits now. They've got beautiful hands, beautiful textures, and the colors and the patterns are just so beautiful. So if you're an avid quilter and you haven't sewn with a knit lately, I encourage you to make a simple t-shirt for yourself or for maybe a daughter or granddaughter, and enjoy sewing with knits again. And part of the joy of sewing with knits is having the proper needle. It really does make a difference. Okay, so let's move on to embroidery. I want to just talk a little bit about embroidery. And yes, of course, Schmetz has embroidery needles. And as we saw earlier in the diagram about the eyes of the needle, the embroidery needle has an enlarged eye. Again, you're sewing at very high speeds, or I should say you're stitching at very high speeds, and the embroidery needle has an extra large eye, so there's less stress on the thread as it's passing through the eye. So these embroidery needles come in two sizes, 7511 and 9014. And the embroidery needle has a light ballpoint, Okay, and Marge says she's asking if she can use a top stitch for embroidery. Absolutely. You do have choices. Top stitch is a choice. And let me just bring up another choice that you may not be aware of, and that is the super non-stick needles. These are great for machine embroidery, machine applique, anytime you're working with vinyls or oilcloths, etc. So this is super non-stick. When I hold the package up, I think you can probably see that these needles kind of have a gunmetal color, or kind of a charcoal color. That is a non-stick surface. So these are great for machine embroidery. The non-stick surface I can't use the T word for Teflon, but it's a non-stick surface similar to what we find on our pots and pans. So the non-stick surface is going to resist all those sticky stabilizers that have a tendency to gum up your needle. The other two features about the super non-stick needle is that the needle has a reinforced blade, so there's less stitch deflection when you're creating your stitches. You'll get a cleaner stitch. And finally, the eye is extra large on the super non-stick, an extra large eye. So 3 special features about the super non-stick, the first being the non-stick coating. The second is the reinforced blade, and the third is the extra large eye. Now, before I forget, I just need to mention that I know that if you go to Hen & Chick Studio, that Heidi actually is selling these bundles of needles. So she's got a bundle of super non-stick needles. She has a bundle of the stretch needles. I think there's 3 cards, 3 cards for sewing with knits. And then she has bundled up the quilting needle. So she's made it really super easy for you to sample and experiment, discover, and use Schmetz needles for your quilting, your knits, and your embroidery. So with the bundles, it also includes the Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide, the ever-popular Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide, and then you get a little luggage tag, a little tag that has the color chart. So ever so handy having this color chart. You can just drop it in your purse or hang it on your bulletin board. I actually had all my luggage and tote bags have the Schmetz luggage tag from when I was traveling. And yes, I truly do miss traveling. So be sure to check Hen & Chick's website so that you can get those. Now, I also want to bring to your attention some other needles. And that is, you may have seen these. These are the chrome needles. Schmetz Chrome. This is a premium needle, Schmetz Chrome. Chrome resists heat and wear. So each of these chrome needles has a chrome finish that resists heat and wear. And I have to tell you, at first I was a little bit suspicious about chrome. But I took my favorite needle, which is Microtext 8012. I took a regular Microtext, stitched out, and then I took the chrome Microtext. And I could actually see, feel, and hear the difference as the stitches were being made. So I've converted all of my needles over to, well, I should say I'm converting over to chrome because, wow, I do have quite the needle stash. So I want to make sure you know I want you to understand the packaging on these needles because it's based on the Schmetz color chart. So right here in the upper corner, so you've got a block of color. So this upper corner here, just like the band of that top band of color on your needle, identifies your needle type. So green for quilting based on the Schmetz color chart. And then the lower corner identifies the needle size. So rose for size 75. So here is quilting needles. We know because the top is green for quilting, and we've got size 90, which is identified by blue. So in the sample that we showed earlier, we had that top band of of yellow. So we know that these are stretch needles. Stretch needles. And this is a size 75 and blue for size 90. So Microtext actually has 3 different sizes available in the chrome. We've got the light green for size 60, the emerald green for size 70-10, and orange for size 12, 80-12. So you'll want to try these here too. Okay, so I just saw a question about serger needles. Thank you so much for asking these questions. I just can't read them fast enough, so I just take a quick glance and I'll try to answer what I can. So First of all, when you are working with a serger, when you buy a serger, you must find out what needle system to use. If you can ask your dealer. You can also look, if you have an existing serger machine, you must look, well, actually you should read your owner's manual, but at least look up the needle system that is appropriate for your serger. The other way to get the information on what needle system to use for your serger is to actually look on the inside cover. You can just generally flip that down and there'll be a label, a sticky label, or sometimes you'll find an imprint. So it might say, use needle system 13705H. Well, what does that mean? 13705H? Hey, that's a flat shank needle. That's our home sewing machine. That's the needles that we've just been talking about. But not all sergers use 13705H. Some mini sergers use a special needle system, which would be ELX 705 or an ELX 705CF. ELX 705 needle system, ELX 705 is a flat shank needle, but what's different is ELX 705 has not only one, but it actually has two grooves. There's a groove on the front and on the back of your needle. So if your machine says ELX 705, that's what you should be using. However, what I have learned that especially with newer machines, average newer machines, is that even though it says ELX 705, sometimes you can use a regular home sewing needle, sometimes. So I know on my machine, which I have to tell you, I was really a slow adapter to the serger. I had a serger in my garage for 10 years, and then I woke up one morning and I said, I have to learn it. I have to learn to thread it. And then I became addicted to my serger, and I actually wore it out and had to buy a new one. So on my serger, when I flip that cover down, it does say ELX 705. So that's the needle that I started out with. And then I thought, well, let me just try, because in the real world, we do try different things, right? I tried a regular universal stretch and jersey home sewing needle, and they worked fine. When I was not satisfied with the stitch quality from the regular home sewing machine needle on my serger, then I went back to the ELX 705, and it would sew beautifully. So you need to check your owner's manual, check your machine, and I have to tell you, go online. If you don't have your owner's manual or you can't go in and talk to your dealer, go online and just search for your specific model of machine, and you'll be able to find the owner's manual for free. So just go online and check that out. So thank you so much for asking about ELX 705 and serger machines. Sally is saying she loves the non-stick needles. Yay, and so does Amy. Yay. Carol is asking about sewing with leather. So yes, you need a very special needle for leather. And I'll just show you in the little Schmetz ABC pocket guide. We photographed each type of needle. We tell you what sizes are available, what the special features are, what the color code is, etc. So leather is definitely in here. The leather needle has what's referred to as a cutting point, So when you're sewing with leather, you need that cutting point to actually penetrate through the leather. Now the thing with the leather needle is once you stitch through that leather, you can forget ripping it out. You can rip out the thread, but the hole is going to stay. So you need to be cognizant that a leather needle will actually cut the leather. All right, so, all right. let's see, Karen is asking, what's the difference between 7511 and 9014? Okay, good question. So, earlier, let's just talk about needle sizes for a little bit. So earlier I mentioned that the size of the needle is determined by the diameter in this area here. So Schmetz is a German company, and they work with the metric system, right? So when they measure this area, they come up with a number that's like 0.70, 0.80, 0.90, etc. They take that number times 100 to come up with the numbers that we're familiar with, 70, 80, 90, 100, etc. But Schmetz is not the only needle manufacturer in the world, right? There are other companies too, and they use a sizing system that's referred to as the Asian, the Singer, or International Sizing System. Many, many, many years ago, the needle manufacturers got together and said, hey, let's marry up our sizing. So a size 80 will always equal a size 12, and size 90 will always equal a 14, etc. So when your books and patterns say use a size 80, well, that's the same as an 80-12 or a size 12. So again, it's, thank goodness there's uniformity in the sizing. Now, let me bring up the color chart here just a little bit. So on this chart, move over here. On this chart here, you can see all the different sizes that are available for your home sewing machine. So the smaller the number, the finer the size. So a size 60/8 is the smallest size of needle that most machines can accommodate. And then the sizes just go up. So a 70 is larger than a 60. An 80, which by the way, universal size 80-12 is the most popular needle type and size. Universal size 90-14 is the second most popular needle type and size. And they just keep going up. So size 120 would be the heaviest, the thickest needle that is available for our sewing machines. So I hope you find that information helpful on your size. Becky's asking about what needles work on vintage. I know there's, oh my goodness, I published Smet's Inspired to Sew Easing, and a couple years ago we featured featherweight machines, featherweight 2021s, 2021s, right, et cetera. And wow, I found like there's this whole group, almost like cult-like group, fascinated with featherweight machines. And quite frankly, I've got my eye, I'm keeping an eye out for a featherweight in great condition at the right price. I want a little featherweight machine. Many of the featherweight machines, you can use a regular home sewing machine needle system 13705H. If not, then you need to do a little bit of research. Just go online and again, look up your model. There's lots of information online where you can look up featherweights and the needle system that's appropriate. But I would guess the majority, probably over 80%, use regular needle system 13705H. Okay, so let's let me take a quick look here at time, and the time is, wow, 10:44. Gosh, I've been talking for 44 minutes. You've been listening for 44 minutes, so thank you. Okay, so let's move on, because what is a question that everybody asks? Everybody asks. Think about that. Think about that. I'm sure I hope you're asking at home when you're sewing. And that question is, how long does a needle last? How long does a needle last? Really? Do I have to change my needle? And the answer is yes. Needles do not last forever. Needles are not a permanent machine part. If you want quality stitches, if you want straight stitches, you must change your needle. I'm not just trying to sell you more needles, but look, you've invested a lot of money in your machine. You've invested money in your fabrics and in your threads. And if your fabrics are puckering, if your stitches are looking a little wonky, hello, you need to be changing your needle. You're spending a lot of time and money on your projects, and replacing the needle is the least expensive way to improve your stitches and your project. And if you take your machine in for maintenance because you have problems, what's the first thing your technician is going to ask you? Hello, when was the last time you changed your needle? So let's talk a little bit about clues to change the needle. What's happening to your thread? Is it shredding and breaking? What are you going to do? Toss the needle. It's not always about the point and the tip of the needle. But if you're not replacing your needle frequently enough, the thread will actually create a groove in the eye of the needle. There'll be a groove in the eye of your needle. And what's that groove going to do to your thread? Yeah, it's going to shred and break your thread. So the easy solution, toss the needle. What's happening to your stitches? Are you skipping stitches? Maybe you're saying, well, I'm sewing in a straight line. Why do my stitches look kind of wiggly squiggly? Well, hello, your needle is dull. What do you need to do? Toss the needle. What's happening to your fabric? Your fabric might be puckering, or it might be snagging, or maybe your fabric is actually being kind of pushed down into the throat plate. Hello, change the needle. Easy solution. And I find from listening to people that there's a clue that many people miss. And that is when we're sewing, I hope we're just in our wonderful little bubble, our sewing bubble. And then you start to hear a little clicking sound. It graduates to a popping sound. And if you're really not in tune, your machine is going clunk, clunk, clunk. So what do you need to do? You need to change the needle. Your machine is talking to you. Change the needle. So let me see here. It just so happens. I keep referring to the Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide because it is ever so handy. So on page 37, we've got the clues to change the needle, and there's that wonderful photograph of a needle that actually to the naked eye looks sharp, but this needle has been magnified 1,000 times. And you can see, even online, I think you can see that how flat it is, how dull it is. And you can see those striations and the burrs. And you can even see a little nicks right there in the groove of the needle. So yes, throw that needle away. So oftentimes also we juggle projects, right? We move from project A to B, and you have to change out your needle sometimes from one needle type to another. And you set your needles aside and you go, is that needle still sewing worthy? Well, there's two things you can do to determine if your slightly used needle is still sewing worthy. You can take your slightly used needle and just run it across your fingernail. And if it leaves a little scratch, well, what are you going to do? Toss it. You've got a burr. Or if you have some old hose or maybe a knit fabric, you can just run the needle tip across your fabric or your hose, and if it catches, you need to toss the needle. So again, I can't emphasize enough that needles don't last forever. The general rule of thumb is that you can get 8 hours of sewing time from a needle. But I've had many power quilters come up to me after class and say, Rhonda, 8 hours. I change my needle every 4 hours of sewing. So it's different for everyone. Maybe you're not an aggressive quilter or an aggressive sewer. Maybe you change yours every 20 hours. I mean, nobody sits there at the machine with a timer. You must become familiar with the clues to change the needle. And what are those clues again? Yeah, you've got wonky stitches. They're skipping. They're uneven. Your thread is breaking. You're damaging your fabric. And what's your machine doing? That's right. It's talking to you. Clicking, popping, clunking. Don't wait that long. Change the needle. So I want to bring up also, now's a good time, how to organize slightly used needles. Because if you're like me, you know, you've got multiple projects going on. So there is a handy way to organize your slightly used needles. Probably 6 years ago, we bought the Grab-It Sewing Tool Company. And you're probably familiar with the Grab-It magnetic pin cushion that's in sewing rooms around the world. And one of the other products is the MyPad, the Grab-It MyPad. And I wanted just to show you what the hang card looks like so you know what to look for. And I know Heidi has this on her website, so you can, I think she's out of stock right now. She sold so many, but she'll be getting this in stock again. So let me explain what the MyPad is. I'll put this down. It's a super thick felt pad, And then we've got different needle types that are stamped on the pad. So here we've got universal. For each needle type, then we've got a cell for the different needle sizes. Different needle sizes for the different needle types. So your slightly used needle, you can just slide it into whatever the appropriate cell is. If you have some older Schmetz needles that are not color-coded, and you know what they are, there's a little flower head pin that comes with the MyPad. So you can use this to identify the needle that's currently in your machine. That's what the flower head pin is for, to identify the needle currently in your machine. So a handy little thing, it's the Grab-It MyPad for organizing your slightly used needles. The other thing I will mention is, many of you are probably familiar with the Grab-It Bobbin Saver. This holds over 20 different bobbins, whether they're empty, pre-wounds, or some that you've wound. So it's a handy way to organize your bobbins. But from my travels, people were saying, oh, Rhonda, I love the Bobbin Saver. I love this flexible plastic. It just grips the bobbins. But they wanted something more efficient size-wise. So I came up with the Bobbin Saver Square. Bobbin Saver Square. It's that same pliable plastic that your bobbins just fit nice and snug in the Bobbin Saver Square. And this one here holds over 60 bobbins, regular bobbins. And then jumbo bobbins are becoming quite popular, right? So we have the Jumbo Bobbin Saver, and you can see that the channel of the Jumbo Bobbin Saver is larger than the regular Bobbin Saver. So this will hold, this one here holds over 60 bobbins also, the Jumbo, for your Jumbo bobbins. So two different ways for your regular bobbins or for your jumbo size bobbins. So keep those products in mind, and hey, you can order those over at Hens and Chick Studio also. All right, let's see, what else do I want to tell you? So let me just review what Heidi has available on her website. You can get the already bundled, the quilting, the jersey, And, oh, hold on. They just fell. The super nonstick. These are already bundled for you. So 3 different bundles, and they all come with the Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide, and you also get this fabulous little luggage tag with the color chart. So make sure, so how are you going to do that? You're going to go over to Hen and Chick Studio, and I know Heidi's put the address in the chat room over here. You're going to click shop, and then you're going to click Quilting Notions, and then you'll find these Schmetz and Grab It products right there. So let me see. Let me just, okay, let me look at the time. 10:55. Wow, we're buzzing right along, and we've covered a lot of information also. So before I forget, if you're curious as to whether or not I really do love to sew and quilt, I do have a personal blog, which is sewmorestitches.com, sewmorestitches.com, and you can go over there and see what I've been sewing and quilting. You might actually want to click 2020 sewing, because wow, I did a lot of pandemic sewing and quilting. I finished, I hope you finished a lot of UFOs also during this tragic time in our history. But I finished a 17-year-old Thangles project. These are 1-inch Thangles. And so I'm really happy that I've had it hanging on my wall, and now I can actually show it. So it's, you can see pictures of that along with other quilting and sewing projects that I've made. I'm just finishing up the Red Ruby Society. They have a magic unicorn panel, and I just put the label on it, and I want to add some crystals. So in the next few days, I'll be posting that on my website. So go check sewmorestitches.com. You can click 2020 sewing, or you can click 2021 sewing to see what I've been sewing and quilting. So let's look at some questions over here. Let me see. Whoops. What we've got here. Do we sell long arm quilting machine needles? Schmetz does make long arm machine needles. You need to know what the needle system is. So is it a 206X13? Is it a 134R? Is it a 135X17? You must know the needle system. So yes, Schmetz does make needles for long arms, but you must know what the needle system is. Unlike home sewing machines that use 99% of all the machines use needle system 13705H, long arms use a variety of needle systems. So you need to check that out. Yes, so the chrome needles will be up on the website. Someone is asking, can I use a Microtext on knit? Well, you can try a Microtext. I think probably the stretch or the jersey will work better for you. But, you know, the bottom line is there is no police for what needle you use on your fabric. And what needle works for you might be different than what works for your sewing buddies. You know, I always like to say that it's a dance. Selecting the needle is a dance. It's a dance between your fabric, your thread, your technique. You might kind of pull or push your fabric. And then, hello, our machines have personalities, right? So what works for you might not work for somebody else. So check that out. What needle would you use sewing a golf shirt, a nylon golf shirt? Oh, okay. So you know what? Let me just say that I forgot. Good question. I forgot. In the Schmetz ABC Pocket Guide and also in the free app, along the bottom is a little reference, what needle to use with what fabric. And so right here, I can look up nylon, and it says use a universal or a microtext from size 60 to a 90. So lots of information in this little package here. Okay, let me see. Are there any other questions that Heidi has forwarded to me? It is like a juggling act here, and that's okay. Yes, the non-stick bundle. So on the non-sticks, you'll get 4 different packs of needles. You'll get sizes 70, 80, 90, and 100. So the super non-sticks are great when you do machine embroidery, machine applique, you're working with vinyls. Anytime you are working with fusibles, spray adhesives, anything sticky, the super non-stick is a great needle to use. And, oh, here, my friend Connie in the great Northwest, from Sewing and Stitchery Expo, she makes a lot of tote bags. And one year she came up to me and she says, Rhonda, why does my needle squeak? I said, squeak? A squeaking needle? I never heard of that. She goes, yeah, when she's sewing through vinyl to make like tote bags or carry-all, she goes, yeah, sometimes my needle squeaks. So I gave her a sample of the non-stick, and she came back. She was local, so she came back and she goes, wow, Rhonda. She goes, no more squeaky needles. And she said the super non-stick worked beautifully with that vinyl. I will also just throw out a caution on the super non-stick is if you're working with white or light colored fabrics, that you really need to do a stitch out first. You need to sample the needles first because there might be a little bit of residue, dark residue left on the needle. So do a stitch out first if you're working on a light fabric, just to make sure that you don't leave any shadowed stitches. All right, well, let's see. So where are you going to buy your needles? Hello, you're going to go visit Heidi online at henandchickstudio.com. She's got the Schmetz needles, she's got that Grab It My Pad, and the Bobbin Saver squares. Let me just see if there are any other quick questions. Thank you so much for all your complimentary comments. I really appreciate it. You know, it's a new world, isn't it? Going virtual. And I can hardly wait until I can hug people again. I guess I am very social. Okay, what about metallic needles? Well, you know what? I will give you some little insight on metallic needles. As we saw earlier at the top of the hour with the diagram of the eye of the needle, the top stitch and metallic both have an elongated eye. But the truth is, the metallic and top stitch needles are the same needle, just 2 different names. Top stitch and metallic needles are the same needle, just 2 different names. So when are you going to use that needle? You know, when you're working with those finicky metallic threads, you definitely want to use a metallic or top stitch needle. Top stitch, I mentioned, is a popular needle for piecing and for quilting. So, you know, I always like to say with Schmetz, you have options. Flo is asking about titanium needles. And yes, currently we have 1 titanium needle in 2 different sizes. That is the Schmetz. I always refer to it as the Schmetz gold needle. The initial purpose of the Schmetz gold needle is embroidery. The needle has an extra large eye, and the titanium finish helps to keep the needle cool. So I know that people like to sew with the titanium, so yes, there is an option for you. Again, why use chrome needles? Well, chrome is a very smooth surface, and it resists heat. and you get a really nice smooth stitch experience. It's smooth when the needle passes through your fabric, and the chrome also, there's less resistance in the thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. So chrome resists heat, chrome resists wear, and those are two huge reasons to use the chrome, and we've got it in a variety of needle types and sizes. Okay, I have thrown out a lot of information out there, and I want to thank each of you for hanging in there with me, because I realize needles are not glamorous, they're not sexy, and they're not romantic, but you know what? You can't use your machines, you can't sew up your fabrics without a Schmetz needle. So thank you so much. I want you to go right now, and go to henandchickstudio.com to get your needles. Support your local quilt and fabric stores. And again, thank you, Heidi, for inviting me here today, and congratulations on 10 years of business. So Schmetz.